to Book 101 Review. Book 101 is all about the books that I've read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. She is the author of the book How to Get Laid on Tinder for Men. No other than Miss Maureen Pound. Welcome to Book 101, Miss Maureen, and can you please introduce more about yourself?
So I am a mother, an entrepreneur, and an author, and I was busy raising my children and not about myself, and had not had a date in 7 years. So I
No.
started on my dating journey, which ended up in the book.
Yes, indeed. Congratulations, Miss Maureen, for sharing your knowledge to the world. Hoping for more and more and more empowering books like this to come. And what inspired you to write this book?
So when I started my dating journey, uh, it was all I'm older, and it was very the whole online swiping was very new to me and very scary because back when I was dating, it was a good old RSVP website where
Yes.
you'd match with the person, you'd look at their profile, you'd read a whole lot of information, and it was very different. And even before then, it's meeting at the bar or at university or whatever. So when I decided that I wanted to date again, I got it was very intimidated, but I got the help of a friend, a male friend, who showed me Tinder, and he said, "This is what you do."
Mm.
And so that began the journey of online dating for myself. And throughout that journey, I talked to a lot of men who were really frustrated because the numbers on apps skew a lot in the woman's favor. So it's like 7 to 80% men. So they've got to do a really good job to get the attention of women. And they were really nice blokes who were just frustrated. So I started giving them advice and they were really thankful. So I decided to put it all into a book.
And congratulations for that, Miss Maureen. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge to the world. What initially led to this 7 year period without sex, and how did you define your relationship with intimacy during this time?
That's a great question. I was blissfully happy because I'd wanted to be a mother for so long that I hadn't met a man and I was in my late 30s, so I had to go and seek other ways of having children. So I decided to use an anonymous sperm donor and have two beautiful children. So I was exhausted. I say I was blissfully exhausted because I was totally focused on my children. And I wasn't seeking sexual intimacy during those years. And then I went on a charity bike ride in Thailand, and it was raising money for orphans over in Thailand. And it's pretty extreme. It's 5 days, 500 kilometers in the 4 days in the heat, with 50 other entrepreneurs. And it was the first time that I'd spent time away from the children after several years. And I was doing this bike ride, and the guys started flirting with me again, like, nothing serious, but just being noticed as a woman again. I'm like,
Mm.
oh, this is interesting. And that sort of sparked something in me to realize that I did want intimacy again, and that I needed to seek it out.
Interesting indeed, Miss Maureen. And how did cultural narratives and sexuality relationship or normalcy affect your mindset during this time?
Could you repeat that question for me?
How did cultural narratives around sexuality, relationships, or normalcy affect your mindset during this time?
I think I've always struggled to fit in and be normal and
Mm.
meet societal expectations. And it's very hard because society says that you should have, even though, there's diversity, a lot of society still celebrates heterosexual people who get married and have children and to commit to each other for life. And I wanted that in my 30s. But then once I'd had the children, I decided that I did not want that anymore. Um, I, I found a village around me to support me as a person, and in terms of adventures, sexual intimacy, um, emotional support. They all came from different people at different times. And so I did not fit the stereotype of a person looking for a man to marry to live the rest of their lives with. So it is still hard today in some respects because I'm a little bit different. Like I even went to an event the other day and someone I hadn't seen for many, many years turned to me, my friend's older brother, and said, have you got a bloke? I mean, that was his first question. So, and I have to, some people just don't understand the whole concept of single by choice.
What did you learn about yourself outside of your sexuality identity that you might not have discovered otherwise?
Through, I learned that I was still a bit insecure
Hmm.
and that I still held on to the time when I was a teenager in an Italian restaurant when I was 16, and a whole lot of boys from the local school walked in and they rated us girls out of 10, and I think I got a six. And then the other guy argued and said, oh, no, she's a 6.5. So I think the things that happened to you in the past, and I was a tubby child, like I wasn't the beautiful, admired child. I was admired for my brain, not my looks. And so I think all that what happens to you in your past carries through. And so even though I appear very confident and confident sexually, I think in a lot of ways still very insecure. And what I learned through the journey is that I often don't ask for what I want or speak out or as am open sexually as I would be in normal life.
Miss Maureen, were there specific practices like creative outlets, therapy, fitness that help you process this experience?
Um, yes, so I say fitness would play a big part because looking after your body and your mind um, really helps you. And so I've always done a little bit of exercise, but in the last few years, I've, done some extreme stuff like, doing the 500K bike ride in Thailand. I've done that 4 times now on 4 separate occasions. And I've run 3 marathons and I'm about to run another marathon this year. And I lift weights and I like, and I do, pole dancing. Let's try that. And a yoga. Oh, I was in France recently and I did some sessions of yoga. Let's do some meditation. So I really like exploring, using my body more. And when I run, it also helps me get clarity in my mind about who I am and what's important to me.
Was there a moment when you were shifted from enduring this phase to actively embracing or redefining it?
Well, I think it's continually being redefined. I'm trying to embrace who I am as a person, and I've always been interested in humans and relationships and sexuality and communication. Communication is a huge one for me. So I think I'm continually evolving and learning and growing.
How did your understanding of your own desires or boundaries evolve over the 7 years?
There's an old, saying about women changing their mind. Well, I've changed my mind a lot. Um, I throughout the 7 years. Well, really, not the 7 years when I wasn't having sex, but when I started to have sex. So I've gone from um, being, oh, I don't think I really want this. This is all too scary. To yes, I really do. To, or maybe I do want a relationship, or maybe I just want to play tennis and have activities with people. Like it's really evolved, and I think it keeps changing all the time, and that's okay. So, um, what I think is important for people is to go, what's important to you right now? And that's how I live my life. So it's like, okay, what's important to me right now is having really great relationships with people, all people in my life. And I'm not casually dating at the moment. And that may change, but that's just where I am at the moment. So I think we need to be kind to ourselves and just work through what we need at any given time. And as well as we're being kind to others as well, then I think it's all good.
Indeed. How do you address loneliness, frustration, or societal expectations without using sex as distraction?
Well, the loneliness one doesn't really resonate with me. It does a close friend of mine. She often talks about in times in her life when she's been lonely. I don't. It's not an emotion that I really feel so much. I think one of my superpowers is having really supportive people around me. And so if I'm not in a stage in my life where I'm not sexual, sexually intimate with anyone, it's usually because I don't want to be, and I've got all those other things happening in my life. What were the other ones? Loneliness.
Loneliness and uh, frustration.
I think like frustration, all emotions and are natural, and I think we shouldn't try and push them down. I think we should feel them and notice why we're having them, and is there something we need to change. So I have everyday frustration, but I don't think I have a long-term frustration because I'm quite good at being brave and making changes so I don't have that.
Very well said. Miss Maureen, very well said. In what ways did you actively do something about it beyond waiting for circumstances to change?
So I actively talk to people about my situation. I think that is very underrated. If you talk to people that you trust, you get a wealth of information and ideas. And it doesn't mean that you have to do what they say, but it's you start collecting stuff for your brain. And so I think that's a really good thing to be doing. It's a little bit like when you decide you want to buy a Tesla. Once you decide that, all the information about Teslas come to you. You see the Tesla everywhere. Oh, you'll notice an article about a Tesla, whatever it is. So I think if you focus on the what you want. So for me, I wanted sexual intimacy again. I focused on that, and then the information came to me. So I talked to people. Another important part is actually doing the thing, just not thinking about it and wishing and hoping and praying. So I got onto the app and I made mistakes and I behaved well on occasion. And sometimes I didn't behave so well when I was, feeling a bit insecure or down. I was kind to people. I didn't blame people too much. I decided that it was all part of the journey. So, yeah, so I think it's very much about working out what you're actually going for here. And then once you've done that, the how appears.
Miss Maureen, how to get laid on Tinder for men is it in the future it's available for women too?
Yes. So we have a podcast called How to Get Laid on Tinder, and we have a book, How to Get Laid on Tinder, Amazon, and you can buy a hard copy as well. And the website is howtogetlaidontinder.com. It is for, I wrote it with men in mind, and I used examples for men. So, for instance, I've given information about good opening lines. So, women get lots of lines. Oh, you're beautiful. Hey, sexy. Hi, how are you? Like, it doesn't cut through because they get so many of those messages. So, in the book, I've explained, messages that do cut through. It doesn't have to be genius, but just something better than hi, how are you? And
Yes.
then I've given them, we've discussed things on who pays on a date, um, how you ask for blowjobs nicely. Like there's all sorts of different, stuff that I've aimed it at men. But in saying that, a lot of women have read the book as well, and they listen. A lot of the listeners of the podcast are women as well. So I'm not discriminating, but when I wrote it, I was trying to support men because I think sometimes we give men a hard time. We say, you don't do that right, you don't do this right. And I wanted, from a woman's perspective, to be informative and practical and give advice and tips in a really positive way.
Tips and advice indeed. And thank you so much, Miss Marine, for giving us to the world. And as an author, what are your short term and long term goals?
So I am an entrepreneur as well. So we're currently working on business ideas, and we've got land in Vanuatu and have lots of interesting projects. But my heart and soul, I am a writer, and I want to put more messages out there into the world so that I think I have a very direct, honest style that is quite unique. So I want to help more people through my writing. So I write a lot of, like 300-word thought provoking posts on social media, but I also want to write more books.
Good luck to your goals, Miss Maureen. And what is your piece of advice for those people out there who want to write their own book too?
So I you've got to keep going and keep writing regularly, even after the initial idea and the glow of the initial idea has diminished a little bit, when the hard work settles in. So you're excited at the start. I've got this great idea. I'm going to write a book. Anything that's worthwhile in this world takes work. So my advice is to just get writing and don't try and make it perfect, but just set up your little schedule for yourself where you're going to spend, even if it's 15 minutes, half an hour a day, and then just and keep writing. So don't be too judgmental of yourself. Just start and keep going.
How about Miss Maureen? What would you say to someone in this similar situation who feels stuck or ashamed?
Um, well, firstly, they could read the book, get some
Yes.
ideas. But I think um, I want to say you're not alone. We're all like ducks, floating on the water and underneath going, ah, you know, um, we're wired to worry about what people think of us
Yes.
to keep us safe. So I want people to know that you're not alone. This too shall pass. The way you're feeling today, you won't always feel that way. Enjoy the roller coaster of life, and know that if you get clear on what you want and just take a little step, even one little step, then it can make a difference. Just download the app. Don't even start a profile yet, but just even download it. And then the next day you might, okay, I'm going to put one picture up. Just small steps take you a long way.
Indeed, people don't care of what people say about you because For sure, people around you are just jealous or they want you to put you down. So, never mind. Did this experience shape your views on love, purpose, and human connection in a broader sense?
Yes, because I did a lot of research for the book around dating, a lot of statistics, and there's one quote in the book I say, men are only after one thing, and the one thing men are after is a partner and companionship. Because if you look at the stats around men later in life, they don't like being alone, and so it it taught me a lot about men, and there were other stats around. Yes, they will have fun and they want to be sexually intimate and all those things, but there comes a time where they want that true connection, and I think obviously that's more obvious and well known for women, but I found that quite very interesting. That that's something that men really want as well, despite the stereotypes.
Indeed. Miss Maureen, why did you decide to share this story publicly? And what reaction have surprised you the most?
I decided to do it. I was doing a book writing workshop, and I had some ideas. And the three ideas, because I had different stories that I wanted to tell and explore, and one of them was that I gave up drinking about 22 years ago, and people are quite interested in that story. There was another story around having anonymous sperm donor children and why I did that. And the third one was the idea of writing this dating book for men. And in this room, there were all these women and there were two men, but mostly women. And all the women are saying we were sharing all our ideas, and they're all going, "Oh, do the one on the IVF, do the story on the not drinking." And then the guys down the back are going, "No, excuse me, we want the one on the Tinder dating. We want we want to read that one." And that was the first inkling that I had something. And then when I spoke to other people, they like really wanted me to give them this information. I'm like, often we go, "Oh, yes, that's a good idea. Let's just do it." But I felt like there were people out there wanting it, and that's why I did it. Now, back to your second part of the question about the reaction to it. Well, it's sort of a controversial heading title of the book, because to some people, the men didn't mind it at all. They just smiled. Um, some women got a bit annoyed and said, "What? Why are you writing that for men? As if they don't know how to get laid." Mm-mm. And they didn't even hadn't read the book, and they didn't know that the book has a lot about communication. And actually, by helping men, I'm helping women. But I just thought if the title was "How to Communicate with Women," men aren't going to buy it as much as "How to Get Laid on Tinder." So yeah, so I got it. But the thing is, our human brain is also wired to remember the negativity, and the negativity would be 1%, because mostly people have been very interested, supportive, and have bought the book, listened to the podcast. My TikToks that I've done on it, some of them have got over 2 million views. So definitely people out there are enjoying what I'm sharing.
Totally agree, Ms. Maureen. And before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season. Abstract poetry in second season, book 101 review, fifth season two, comedy 101 in second season, food 101 in fifth season two, geography 101 and love letters in its third season, and my baby podcast, Mental Health 101, Movie 101 review and Music 101 in the fourth season, and Science 101 and Sex 101 in its first season. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. Miss Maureen, how has this chapter fundamentally changed how you approach relationships, self worth, and life goals today?
I think it's made me braver in all aspects of my life because it's quite hard talking about sex and relationships, especially as a woman. So I think it's definitely made me braver. And I think I don't know where it's going to lead me or what's going to happen, but I know there will be goodness come from it. There'll be learning, and even if I've helped just one or two people, then it's been a good thing.
Indeed, Miss Maureen Pound, thank you so much for sharing how to get laid on Tinder to the world. So, can you please invite our listeners to support your book?
So, how to get laid on Tinder.com. You can go to the website where there's links to purchase the book. Hard copy if you're old fashioned and want us to send it through the mail, or you can purchase the book soft copy online through Amazon. I have a TikTok account, How to Get Laid on Tinder, and then I also have the podcast, How to Get Laid on Tinder. Thanks.
Yes, people, let's support Miss Maureen Pound because if you support her, more and more and more empowering books like this to come, more and more and more empowering episodes for the podcast itself. So, Miss Maureen, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks.
More to come, people. See you soon.